that goes there. Is right by me, yeah. Okay. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Also know that I'm a certified empowerment coach and I'm president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And we're not doing a show about hats. We could be, but we're not doing a show about hats. But we have Chetachi A back, aka Tachi. Always love to have her on at least once a month. These days, she's in high demand. So we're very blessed and highly favored to have her share with us. And Tachi, what's been going on?
The same old, trying to find a way to take over the world, you know.
One stream at a time?
One stream at a time.
One stream at a time. Well, let's get a little update on all the shows you're doing. I know you're doing Wednesday. You do what's been going on with all the shows that you've been doing online?
Oh, everything is going really well. So, of course, you know, Wednesday is the main initial thing, which is MediaScope on, and so I do it simultaneously on Periscope and Facebook Live at 6 p.m. Before that, at 5 p.m., I do Busker. And so that's the latest in media tech and pop culture, basically the week up until that point that I run down and I have a producer now for that, which is cool.
Okay, so let's just before we go to the other shows that you do, why did you pick those platforms to broadcast MediaScope on?
So I'd always been on Periscope since the very beginning, and you know it's funny to say the very beginning because it's only really it will be 2 years. It's already been 2 years, but for me it will
Wow.
be 2 years in July. Yeah,
Whoa,
I'll be doing
wow.
MediaScope 2 years July 29th.
Congratulations. I'm waiting for the celebration.
Yeah, I have to decide what I'm going to do. So I've been on that since the beginning. I was always enamored with television and uh, recording and broadcasting, and so this just afforded me another way to do that when I wanted without asking anybody's permission. And so Periscope was from the beginning. Of course, Meerkat went away. And then when Facebook Live started, I said, okay, well, I got to jump on that too. I'm the type of person that I don't feel that I necessarily need to use everything, but when I see a platform that's interesting, I want to jump on it. And so I added Facebook Live to the repertoire. And then Busker came along, and Busker's been a little over a year now that I've been doing that. And it's great because the community is great. The community is small. It's not as robust as some of these other platforms that have been around longer, but it's a great community. You don't have the problem of trolling, or at least I haven't, and you really form connections with people. So,
Nice. Very, very nice. Okay, what are some of the other media properties you're dominating online with?
so I also do a show together with Alice Fuller called The Social Media Scene, and it really looks at the intersection of social media and entertainment and some other things. And also, you know, it's also a tech show in a sense, and that's on Fridays. That's 12 p.m. Eastern time, so 12 noon Eastern time. And we do that on Facebook and Periscope. So that's through the Sheer Social site. That's Alice Fuller's company, and we do that on Facebook and Periscope simultaneously. And then Sundays, the social media scene, which is sorry, the classic movie salon. I'm missing
I'm
things up.
testing you to see if you know all the shows you're doing. You know I like to do that once in a while.
That's a good test because So the classic movie salon where we select a classic film and we watch it and then we review it. We watch it ahead of time and then we come back and talk about it. And we span the gamut in terms of film experience from people that work with film festivals to people that actually have worked in film. And then we have our resident historian, which is great. It's so much fun, and I look forward to that to Sundays because I get to spend time with them, and it's really cool. And then, of course, I have the podcast that I do with my friend Kevin Williams, and that is called TV Channeling, which looks at TV, basic TV, film, and entertainment. We talk about the news in TV, film, and entertainment, and then we do reviews of current television shows. So that's a lot of fun.
Yes, and then there's Anchor.
Yeah, yeah, of course. There's Anchor. I do Anchor pretty much on a daily basis, except Wednesdays I'll just do an announcement for MediaScope. But pretty much it's a an extension of what I do with MediaScope. So they're kind of daily updates. I usually pick about 3 stories or so and talk about it, 2 to 3 stories. And then there's a little bit of dialogue. People will call in because you call into the station, and I may publish a call in and talk about it. So yeah, so I have a kind of a little bit of a station on Anchor.
Nice, nice. Well, when we have Tachi stop by once a month, we pick a topic in the tech media space and we chat about it. And I was intrigued when she brought up this conversation piece. She wanted to talk about the 2017 Google Developers Conference. So what state is Google in right now when it comes to media tech, in your opinion?
Google is at this point where they are really trying, it seems that they're really trying to break out of whatever kind of stagnancy they had. So because we all think of Google as this major tech company, which they are, but they're trying to really now, in my opinion, they want us to see them as this innovation company, because there are a couple of things that came out of the Google Developers Conference and things that they have been doing, like the self-driving car, which of course there's the whole lawsuit going on now between them and Uber. But really trying to put innovation out there. They've had a couple of hiccups over the years with things that they haven't done well or marketed well. So I think this is their attempt to try and, all right, this is, let's do it.
And did you get a chance to watch it or be there, or did you watch on a replay, so to speak?
No, I did. Okay, so I watched the first day live, and then the subsequent 2 days I watched on the replay. And because I caught like just the end, so I said I'll replay it. So yeah, basically I do what I do, and I'll have that going in the background, and I'll be looking back and forth. But this is the cool thing about many of these tech conferences now, like the Googles and the Apples. What they do is they live stream their entire events or their conferences, and you get to see them firsthand. So you don't have to go out to Cupertino, California, to Silicon Valley and actually be there. You can experience the same thing that the journalists and the other attendees are experiencing.
Excellent. Well, what's the first thing that caught you out of interest at this year's conference?
Okay, so they talked a little bit about, and it kind of felt in a sense when I watched it, I had to look, I'm like, wait a minute, am I watching this year's? Because they had talked about some of these same things last time. Then I said, no, it is this year's Google Daydream. And so they're talking about Google Daydream. They're going to have, Daydream is their virtual reality, thank you.
Okay.
Virtual reality
VR,
platform.
VR, okay.
Yeah, the VR platform. And so Google Daydream, they talked about it and how now they're going to have VR headsets. Initially, they were going to build them, talking about building them or putting them together. Now the standalone VR headsets are going to come from HTC and Lenovo, apparently. So that was one. So not just about the hardware itself, but the fact that they're really pushing this whole thing. The VR, AR, and AI is a big thing. That's something that stood out.
Now, I haven't got the vibe out of the whole VR thing. And I remember in the past, you've been at a number of different conferences and saying the companies are pushing the VR thing, pushing the VR thing. It hasn't really caught on because
No,
I'm not feeling it. I'm going, is Google going into something that may be another Google Glass by going into this venture?
this is a really important point. And no, I think that they're trying to avoid another glass debacle. Uh, Part of what I think was the problem with glass is that they, besides whatever the marketing, they made it so exclusive that they exclusived everyone right out of out of it, to the point that people stopped caring. And then they're like, okay, well, we're really going to gear it for enterprise, and that didn't necessarily work as well either. So you had that there were only certain people that had access to it. It looked geeky and kind of cyborgish, and it wasn't attractive. So unlike what Snapchat has done with the Snapchat spectacles, which to me, I'm sorry, still look like kid sunglasses. That's just me, but they're a little bit cooler looking than what Google Glass was. And so between the aesthetics and the functionality and the fact that how the hell do you get one, I think that's where their failures were with Google Glass. So I think that's what they're trying to avoid with this whole daydream thing. But to your point of, is this something that has taken off? No, it's not something that is mainstream yet. And it's funny, I read an article where it said the person, I think it was on The Verge, said that it may never become mainstream. I don't necessarily believe that. I think there are a few things that have to happen in order for it to become mainstream.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it hasn't yet.
So let's just drill down. Let's if you had a chance to present to the Google team, what do you feel like, Google team, this is what needs to happen for Google Daydream to be a success? What would you say to them?
Real practical use, and move towards developing AR and VR that is not reliant upon a bulky device. So what they have done with the devices, the Daydream, is to make it really soft and cushy. Their whole thing was to make it like a t-shirt. The material on the outside is like kind of like sweatshirt or t-shirt material. So it's soft and cushy, and it looks like it's comfortable, like you're putting on a pair of sweatpants, but they're not as light as a pair of sweatpants, I can assure you. And you have the sense of having something around you. So in order for this to work, number one, they're going to need to have real practical applications, things for enterprise, things for medicine, things for education, increased functionality for entertainment before this is something that is going to be widely adopted. Number two, they need to find a way to either lighten the load of the headset, and not that it's super heavy, but it's bulky, or get rid of the headset altogether, something with like the group VR experience, which is really number three. VR can be very solitary, even though, there are other people that can be in the world by having the headset, but it follows that you have to have a headset. If you get rid of, or if you lessen the load with that, which hopefully will then also drive down the price a little bit, that will also allow other people to have group experiences, and VR then becomes a collective experience instead of solitary.
Now you've got me confused with this. I know what VR is. What's AR?
I'm sorry.
No
AR
problem.
is augmented reality. And there are differences. So let's backtrack a little bit. 360 and VR, often people use the two interchangeably, and they're not exactly the same. So with 360, you basically move the video, and you are kind of responsible for moving the video. With VR, the video moves around you, if that makes any sense. So it's more immersive. as opposed to 360. So you use 360 video to give you the VR experience, but that's the more immersive part of it, the VR. So AR is augmented reality, and augmented reality deals with looking at life with layers on top of it. So the best example I could give you is, remember when Pokemon Go was all the rage, and now the same thing with the new filter functionality for the rear-facing filter on Snapchat, where you'll see like rainbows here and those are layers on top of video, or on top of not even video, but actual real life that you're going through your phone. So I know at one point, this was in 2011, I did a presentation on AR at NABBEA actually, and they were at the time talking about developing contact lenses that would allow for this.
Wow.
Yeah, and the technology is there. They actually have been playing around with it. Part of the problem is that, you know, a contact lens doesn't give you very much surface area, and so you run the risk of, you know, obstructing vision because of all the things that have to be on there. So it's now they're trying to make the component smaller and smaller so that it doesn't obstruct vision, and that it allows for you to put all these layers on top of layers. So
I'm still skeptical about the whole VR thing jumping, because it's been around for a while now in this application, and I don't see the spike happening. Like, it's just like something needs to happen somewhere, somehow, to really make it big. Because I know, like, was it a year or two ago, everyone was talking about, I remember going to a trade show for men, and that, like, they were pitching VR, but I'm not seeing it. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a big thing. I'm not saying never say never, but I don't see it becoming a big thing in the near future for some reason.
yeah, it's I'm sorry, Dr. Vibe, there's a smudge. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No worry. You're still there.
Okay, thank you. I was like, why am I not seeing myself? Okay. So I think the operative thing and the big deal is that there's nothing beyond right now. There's no use for it, no wide use for it beyond entertainment, and gaming is really what you're talking about. Because even outside of entertainment, there are not a lot of films that are shot in 360 VR at all, because filmmakers and writers still don't know. There are some who are doing some amazing things, but people still don't know, okay, well, how do I write a story that and incorporate VR? Because when you think about it, the camera, VR, everything moves all around you. So the camera operator has to be in a place where they're not going to be in the shot and not going to be seen. That's the other thing. So there's a lot of orchestration for that. So right now there's not a lot of content out there entertainment wise, unless you're talking about gaming.
Right.
And a lot of people are not gamers necessarily.
Right.
So that's the problem. There's not any usable content for the average person that, you know, I won't go and buy a VR headset because there's nothing I'm going to do with it right now except it being a cool toy.
Right. Okay. What was another thing that you got from the Google conference?
So, well, going on with Google Daydream, just wanted to mention
okay,
that
go ahead.
The Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus will have support for Google Daydream this summer. So, Of course, you know, Google has their phone, the Pixel, and that already comes fully equipped to support VR applications and to use with Daydream. That's not necessarily true across the board with all Android devices. So now this summer, you're going to be able to use the Samsung phones, the S8 and S8 Plus, with Daydream. So
okay, well, we'll see if that helps.
Probably not.
No, yeah,
I'm just saying, we just have to be real about it. It's not at that point yet, and I don't think that the industry has done enough to create excitement outside of these tech spaces. It's not the tech spaces where it's going to matter. It's with the average consumer.
Exactly, and it's got to be affordable.
It has to be affordable. If it's the different, and actually, to be honest, I think it is affordable. I need to look at the price again. But something told me that it's less than tells me that it's less than $100. Am I wrong? No, I think I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong on that one.
Okay.
I think it's a little over $100. So it's more affordable than some of these headsets that are $500 and $600 have been. But I think it's still not at the point where it's like, oh yeah, I'll just go buy it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll put VR in the parking lot and see if it comes out of the parking lot.
Yes, absolutely. So their other thing that they focused on was Android O, the new operating system for Android.
Right.
And they announced, it's been actually about 2 months since they announced Android O, but during the conference was when they really talked about it. So they talk about security is a big thing now, especially, in the wake of all of these breaches and things that have happened. People are really protective of data and protective of what their digital imprint is out there. And so for security, they're introducing a new feature called Google Play Protect. It scans apps in the Play Store to make sure that they aren't malicious, but now it's also going to make them more visible by showing them showing that your phone's apps have recently been scanned whenever you're in the store. So whenever you go to the Google Play Store. It should boot, according to Google, twice as fast, and the apps should be faster by default as well in this new operating system. So
you are an Android phone user, correct?
I am correct.
Why do you prefer Android over iOS, if any particular reason?
The camera.
Okay.
Yeah, the camera. I knew that I was going to be doing a lot of live streaming and that it was going to be important for me to have a device that had a decent camera. Based off of now, everything else I use is Apple, from desktop to laptop to tablet, all Apple. I still even have like a couple of iPods. But I knew, just knowing from the cameras on all of these devices, granted, my devices are older, Apple has never been the top of the line when it comes to the camera functionality. It's always been lackluster. And so I discovered when I had an S4, the Samsung S4, how nice the camera was. And then I updated to the 6, which is what I use now. And to me, it's wonderful. So
is what was shared at the development conference for the Android platform upcoming, what were some advantages, and do you feel that there are advantages that the consumers will benefit from?
Well, there are a lot of things. Again, like I said, they're talking about speed and security. That's another thing. Actually, so it's in beta. So the first public beta launched on the 19th, I think it was, and you can sign up. So anybody can sign up for it, for the public beta, if you want to be a beta tester for it. So, but one thing, if you sign up for it, once you install it, you have to wipe your device to go back to a stable build of what's called of Android Nougat. So don't opt into O's beta unless you're okay with encountering bugs. That's why it's beta, because they're working out some things. So, and just to let you know, there are only a few devices are eligible for the beta right now. So that's like Nexus and Pixel devices. So if you have a Nexus or a Pixel, you're eligible right now for the beta. So I don't know when they're going to add other devices, or if they're going to add other devices to the beta. But that's something that's like a benefit, as I said, the speed, the security, that type of thing.
When I was doing research on the conference and some of the things that were shared, one of the things that I found interesting was this Google Lens.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that technology for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, one of the big things is Google Lens. Hold on, I'm trying to find the specifics in my
Yeah, and
my
the
notes.
reason why I'm asking is because you mentioned about the camera aspect of your Android, so I wanted to have you share about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm trying to find it in my notes. I don't know why I can't find it in my notes. Give me a second. This is weird. I just had it
That's no
and now I
problem.
can't find. Yeah, help me now. Oh, because there were specific things I wanted to say about it that I don't want to get wrong.
Well, as you're looking there again, another feature that I found interesting, going back to the Android O, is out the picture in picture.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that's really interesting indeed. Indeed, the picture in picture. There are a couple of things, and also focusing on battery life. That's another thing too. And so I think everybody that's coming out with some sort of new operating system or so, they're focused on that because consumers have been talking about this for a while. Battery life is something that is key, definitely. So that's another thing that came out of this. And this is really, really weird. I can't find my
No
note
problem.
on the
I have some notes if
but
you want me to share. I have some notes, and I'm sure you can just build on some of my notes.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so instead of, pointing to Google Lens to allow you to point and search, and this new image
Point and search
recognition
feature.
feature will allow users the ability to intuitively and powerfully search the internet with their Android cameras, which I think is very interesting. And it comes as a part of Google Photos and the AI-powered virtual assistant Google Assistant, and will be available later this year, which I think is very, very. So pointing the camera at a restaurant front and seeing the instant reviews on the screen is, for instance, just one of the things that this feature is capable. I think that is going to be very cool.
Well, and that all comes into the whole AR thing as well. When you talk about the layers and being able to see things and point it, the Google Lens is also that kind of allows that for that whole AR feel that they're trying to go for and that they're focused on. Absolutely.
I think that's like that recognition that's out of bounds. That'll be quite
It
interesting.
is.
But again, on the other again, security. Like I'm just
That
going.
that
Go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
No,
No,
no.
well, I think that's the thing. While all of this technology allows for us to do things more easily, and it is really neat and interesting. There's something else that's like, all right, well, if this has access to your camera, that means that means something for security. It does. And you have to make that decision and decide, all right, well, how much do I want my, like I said, digital imprint out there? How much do I want people knowing, okay, this is where I am and I'm able to do this? Now, of course, nothing is 100% secure when you're doing that. So that's the only other piece of this, the security aspect for me. Some people are fine. These are the same people that love Google Home and that love Amazon Echo. I I don't necessarily because I don't need to bring in something else that's going to spy on me to my home. But some for people, I do think it's an interesting thing, and I do think it really not necessarily changes the game, but slightly shifts things to to the left or the right, off center. So I think it's a good thing.
I don't know if you found your notes, but is there other things that you're wanting to share with us in regards to this conference? I have one or two other things, but are there things that wowed you or you found interesting?
Well, they talked about how Google Assistant is actually coming to Android TV later this year.
Oh,
Yeah, this is another thing that they've been talking about, the Google Assistant. Okay, and so again, Google Assistant, also Google Home, and this whole idea of the smart home and smart devices that this is also tied into the whole concept of the Internet of Things, if you think about it, where your home is connected to devices and your refrigerator is able to tell you you're out of eggs. They're on sale at such and such place, It's such and such miles away from you. So this interconnected home, and beyond that, the interconnected world, because the Internet of Things also means that eventually you're going to have, bridges that will communicate with your car that will tell you there are icy conditions on XYZ
Oh
bridge.
boy.
You might want to, yeah. So that's the whole Internet of Things. So it starts with the smart home and then expands to the other things we use in everyday life out in the world. So this Google Assistant, these types of things fit in with that. Absolutely. So Google Assistant is coming to Android TV later this year.
So
That was interesting.
so there's some conversation pieces I want to build on what you just shared with us. This whole area of the smart home. A,
Hmm.
are people buying into this?
Hmm.
Wow.
Because, here's the thing. Unlike VR, which is an ethereal concept, the smart home actually has implications for what you do in your house, and it's something that you can see is feasible and usable now. So if you look at these smart home products like Google Home and Amazon Echo, wildly popular. And of course, the new Amazon Echo was released. Well, it's coming, and with the screen, with the video,
Oh,
and you're able to make, yeah. So as opposed to now, it's coming with the screen, and you're going to
jeez.
be able to make calls to other devices. So this is it's wildly popular.
Wow. Then the other thing again, getting back to security and like reliability of data, all these things, like you're saying down the road, bridges will be able to tell you this and that. Like, is this something that people are asking for, or is it something that people like Google are driving into our psyche and creating needs and wants?
I think it's the latter. I think that we were just fine when we knew it was winter and that there's a possibility that the bridge will be icy. So use caution or use your common sense and go right. So we were just fine without that. But when these manufacturers, these companies say, this is on the cusp and you really need this, and we buy into that because we are a consumer society, definitely, and we'll buy into it. So I think it's an artificially created need. Not that it's not good to know, and not that it's not helpful to have technology help us in determining some things. But at the end of the day, did we do before this? And we were okay, So I
Exactly.
think it's an artificially created need, if you ask me. But I, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it.
Okay. Another thing that I see that came up at the conference was Play Protect, and it's like Play Protect will compare app behavior across more than 50 billion apps used daily by all Android users, and through machine
Hmm.
learning, the feature will detect apps that will behave unusually and remove them from the device.
Hmm.
Wow.
That's another. Yeah, yeah. That's another thing. There were a lot of things. This was over 3 days, and there were several keynotes and several sessions in terms of that. So there was a lot that came out of that. Um, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like we see and we always have our conversations of how Facebook is not an online company anymore. They've developed themselves into a media company. Is
Hmm.
Apple sort of turning away from the online service? They'll never forget their online service, but are they now creating a space for them to be, how can I put it, a resource company? For lack of a better terminology, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but we're talking about things like security, smart home. So is that where they're channeling their energies for the near future?
You mean Apple
No,
or
not Apple. I
just
mean Google. Google. Sorry, Google.
Google? That's one of the area that they're channeling energy into. There are a lot of different areas. Remember, we just talked about the whole thing with autonomous cars, um,
Yes.
smart cars, right?
Well,
In
well,
a
well,
sense.
well,
So
well, let's just hold there. You at the beginning of our conversation, you talked about lawsuit between them and Uber. Can you shed some light on that? What's going on between those two small companies?
So apparently, yeah, just very small companies. Apparently, there is a former employee of Google who left to go work at Uber and took secrets about Waymo, which is their autonomous car effort for Google, and he took Waymo notes and secrets to Uber. Whether or not Uber, apparently Uber was not aware, they say they weren't aware. And so now, of course, they're being sued for it. So the individual, I can't remember his name, was not initially involved in the whole lawsuit because it was a company that was being sued. But now, Uber is saying, look, you better cooperate because your job could be at stake, and it probably will be at stake, to be honest. So that's what's going on with that.
Wow. Wow. So so that for Apple, Uber, this is one of, I guess that's one of the priorities, especially for Google, this autonomous car. And if I've heard correctly, aren't they not doing tests in different states of of America in regards to
Yes.
that?
Yeah, they're doing tests in different states. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, um, it's not, and again, it's not just Google's game. Uber, of course, is testing autonomous cars as well. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. Well, let's be honest. There are several in the UK. The train systems are mostly autonomous. There are, several systems here where you find autonomous things. Even okay, like in airports, the trams that take you around. Those are autonomous vehicles. The thing is, they're in a controlled environment, and this is where my issue comes. So they're probably doing what they're supposed to do because they've been programmed to do so, but people driving are not doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this mix of drivers who play by their own rules versus the autonomous vehicles which play by a very strict set of rules, and how that works.
Anything else you wanted to share about what came out of the developers conference of interest to you?
Hmm. Yeah, there's like I said, there's so many things, and it's it's vast. Um
Okay, let me ask you something. And I know there may be a lot of things, but did you get a sense from the conference that Apple has a clear direction on where they want to go?
that
Oh, now
Google, you
when I
mean?
say Apple and go Google, I
Oh
keep on
yeah,
saying
no, it's fine.
it's Google.
Apple always
Google.
has.
Yeah, if Google has a clear sense of where they want to go, they have a clear direction on where they want to go.
From what they're saying here, their clear direction of where they want to go is in terms of is AR, VR, AI. Artificial intelligence was another big thing that they talked about, making things smarter. So actually, artificial intelligence, is machine learning. So one thing that came out of this is there's a new machine learning framework that's going to actually put more intelligence on our phones, basically. So yeah, it lives in the cloud. Um, Artificial intelligence, but they want it to work directly on our devices as well. So they announced a new AI initiative that's going to help make this happen. So what it's called TensorFlow, and it was released in November 2015. But they're trying to now condense this and have this available on phones and work more with TensorFlow. So that's another thing that came out of this AI. So that's another clear direction. Again, VR, AR, AI. That's what it seems like from this developers conference that they're trying to go towards. In addition to the whole smart home, the devices, the Google Assistant, they want to make life easier. That's what technology does. But everything that came out of the Google Developers Conference seems like it's to make our lives easier and more connected.
Wow. Okay. It just seems that from just hearing what you're saying, they got so many things going on. And again, this whole AI VR thing, I think it's just playing with fire there. No, I really,
No, absolutely.
I don't get. And like I said, it's been around for a while. It hasn't taken off. Now Apple's gonna say that they can make it happen. Yeah.
I don't think they're claiming to be the ones that they would like to make it. I didn't get a sense of, and it's going to be us that makes it take off. You know what I'm saying? I think they're now cautiously optimistic when it comes to things because of some of the things in the past that were kind of iffy. So it seems like they're cautiously optimistic, but it looks like they're actively working, excuse me, on some of these things. So
Were there any announcements of any new hardware product at all?
beyond the Daydream, which was announced at the last year, and now that HTC and Lenovo are going to make it, there was no, everything else was more of a function about functionality and software more than the hardware end of it.
Hmm.
So yeah,
I just feel that they're maybe looking for something to be the next big thing.
everybody's looking for something to be the next big thing, to be honest.
Well, and it's just true, and I just don't know where outside of the automated car thing, I don't see anything really exciting.
there and that's the thing. I'm glad you said it because it's interesting. All of this is interesting, but there's nothing really that's like, oh my God, it just, oh wow. So, and to be honest, it's this to me. This is just my own personal view. This has been the same thing because even when I went to NAB and saw things, there were things that were very interesting. That's like okay, but again, there have been small changes. Of course, it seems like it's a sweeping change from. Uh, 2010 until this point, for example. But year over year, it's just been like really small changes. So like this year, I was like, okay, this is interesting, but it's not like, oh my God, like when the iPad came out in 2010. I was talking about this before, and you're like, oh my God, because there was nothing like that. So in terms of completely new innovation, everything to me with this Google Developers Conference seems like it's A, something that they've already been working on that now has come to the forefront, or B, something that they're looking to improve upon. Nothing completely new, in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but it doesn't look like there's anything 100% completely new.
So based on that, is that an Apple thing, or are you seeing that across the tech industry right now that things are sort of in a standstill?
I I kind of like to think that that is an industry-wide thing, that there are small innovations being made. But I think sometimes I think the energy is in the wrong place.
Okay.
This is why it seems like the energy is in one specific place. And I think we need to ask ourselves the question, does there need to be some new 100% shocking invention or new technology that comes out every year? Or is it more useful to really improve upon what is there and the functionality of what we have to make it work better? I think that's the operative question. And often we're looking, not just in the tech industry, but just in general, people that are there at these events as president, you're looking for that. Oh, what's the hot new thing? Because we're always looking for the chasing that hot new thing.
Hmm. So we need some destruction in the industry so we can create some new stuff.
I think so. I think so. But new stuff comes from need. Is there? And so we have to ask ourselves, is there anything that we're lacking right now that technology will solve? Because technology is meant to solve problems or provide answers to an issue that needs to be corrected or something that could be done better. So, I mean, there are always things that you could do better, obviously, but is there anything that's a pressing issue? At least, let me say, at least in the Western world, is there anything that is an issue now? And if there's not anything that's a 100% pressing issue, you're not going to find anything new maybe because it's like okay, well, necessity is the mother of invention, basically.
Okay, and well, I'm gonna give a very interesting conversation piece for you. We always talk about Google, and we always talk about Facebook. If
Uh-huh.
if I offered you 100 shares of Google or 100 shares of Facebook at this time, which 100 shares would you take of what company?
That's a great question. At this time,
Yes,
right, like right now. Mm,
that's a good
That's a really
yeah,
that's a really good question.
because I'm building on what you just talked and shared about where's Google's focus, and also building on the fact that there's nothing really new happening. And obviously we always have the wars between Facebook and Google, and it seems that both companies are going in different directions. Like Facebook, again, looking like they're being a media company, where Google is looking at becoming again a home company, making life simpler, whereas again Facebook's look like media or content creation. So, which right now do you feel has a better chance of creating success? They already are successful and they're going to continue to be successful, but who can take it to the next level on the path that they're going on right now?
Okay, so Google has a propensity to really take things to the next level because remember, they own YouTube.
Yes.
Okay, which is the largest, they are in charge of the largest search engines, which is Google and then YouTube because it's fueled by Google, obviously. So they've
Absolutely.
got entertainment kind of on lock. They've got content creation on lock, if you think about it. They're a social platform, but not in the same way that Facebook is.
Right.
Um, Google has hardware. Google has software. Google has entertainment. Google is a more robust company in that sense right now than Facebook is. Facebook is okay. I'll say Google right now. I
Okay.
would love to have some of Facebook as well,
Right.
but here's the thing that scares me with Facebook. They don't innovate, they copy. Everything that Facebook does is a copy of something else. And that's not to say that tech companies and media companies don't copy. They absolutely do. They take what they see that works and then they adapt it for them. My problem with Facebook is they don't even adapt it. They'll point blank call it the same thing that another platform has called it and not even make a change. To me, that's like blatantly like, well, we're doing this because we can. What about doing it and making it better and doing something different with it? And so to me, I'm like, if all you know how to do is copy, where is the value in that? Google doesn't just copy. That's the thing.
Okay. Yeah. Google goes for the home runs.
They innovate. Yeah.
They innovate. Good stuff. So, do you ever see yourself not using an Android phone in the near future?
Nope.
That's
Nope.
straight. That's straight. And it's funny, I have an Android phone. I had the first tablet I bought was an Android tablet, but I have not touched it in about a year.
Wow. Wow. Was it it's an Android tablet? Yeah, I don't
I can actually put it
I
up to
think
the phone right here too. I'll show the people. I'll show everybody which one it is. See, oh,
oh. Oh
that's
wow.
yeah, it's an old, but I will agree that the camera is great on it, but I really don't use it that much.
Well, if nothing else, you could use it for the camera functionality. It's great to have another device.
True, true, but it just seems that when it comes to hardware stuff, I don't really use Google. Of course, again, they've got the search engine stuff, and they've got that market cornered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Even though Facebook, I'm sure, would love to get into that, they need to stay in their lane. They do what you do well, and don't worry about the other things. But yeah, I don't see myself using an iPhone only because it's also a me thing. I don't want to have one company owning me for everything across the board, even though everything else I use is Apple. There's something about the Android phone that I just like, and I know if I had an iPhone, it would seamlessly work with. I don't care. I like the camera on this. And it all comes down to what your purpose is for it. And I think that whenever you buy a piece of technology or whenever you get anything, you should understand what your end goal is for what it is you're buying. So for me, it was live streaming. It didn't make sense to go and get an iPhone because to me, the camera, it's getting better. They're getting better. But to me, they still don't rival what the Android does.
Do you have any concerns about the direction that Google is going in right now?
I wouldn't say that I have concerns necessarily. I just want to wait and see what they're going to be able to do because, like I said, they've had a couple of misses with things that they've tried to introduce and things that they've tried to do. And so I'm just like, all right, well, I think by showing some of the things you're trying to do, you're on the right trajectory. You just have to execute them properly. So I don't think I have any reservations about the direction they're trying to go in. I think it's good. It just remains to be seen whether or not this trajectory pays off for them.
Absolutely. Well, and again, they always have YouTube and their search engine, so they're never going to be out in the woods.
Look, exactly. It's the same thing I say about like with Ryan Seacrest. So even if he decided he wanted to,
yeah, I had to
he
bring.
Didn't have to do.
Well, you mean Mr. Everywhere?
Mr. Everywhere, exactly. Ryan Seacrest did not have to take on this new role with Ryan and Kelly and Ryan. Even if tomorrow he decided he wanted to do nothing else, his money from the Kardashians is so
set.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course
exactly.
he's now interesting move, and we're off topic just a little bit. How American Idol's now going to ABC.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. I personally don't feel that American Idol needed to come back. You weren't gone long enough for us to miss it. And really, to be honest, 15 seasons was not enough. 15 seasons was more than enough. And I think it had its time. We have shows like The Voice now. The fact that you're trying to come back, it doesn't make any good sense. We don't need it to come back.
Okay, we'll go back on subject matter now. We'll go back to matter. So what is up for you next when it comes to the world of tech? Any
good question.
Any shows you're going to in the near future?
Oh yeah, you know what? There is a I always go to these news technology leadership conference.
Okay.
I've done so that one is coming up in June, in Tampa. So I'll be going to that and learning some new things in news technology.
Yeah, I'll be definitely wanting to have you come on about that because it's interesting because when you watch television news now, the way they're presenting it in a lot of ways is the same way you're seeing on live stream, where you have the number of people on the screen at the same time. And I say, oh, that just looks like obviously they developed that technology first, but it's so nice to see that what you see on a television screen, you can also see on a live stream.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think that they're getting it wrong and they still don't have it right. In terms of live, when we're talking about live streaming. Okay, so live streaming for you and I and for those of us that use it in this space is a different thing completely, means something different than the way the broadcast industry uses it. The way the broadcast industry uses it is how it's traditionally been done. We take this content live from our studio or live from the field, and we put it on devices. Now it's on different devices. For them, that's live streaming. For us, live streaming also means interaction, and This is where they're getting it wrong. They're not doing the interaction part of it. It's something that they still have to master, because what seems to happen sometimes is they just repurpose this content and put it on live stream. So for example, there's one news site that I really like, Cheddar. I think they do a really good job of pulling in, especially millennials, and letting them know about what's going on in the news, what's going on in the markets, because they do opening bell and that type of thing. Okay. But again, the focus is millennials. But one thing that they do, so they stream on, you can watch them on your computer. They stream to, for example, they have apps on Roku, and you can on
Nice.
Apple TV. You can find them there. But they also do Periscope and Facebook Live. I get every morning I get um, notifications from them.
Okay.
But with Periscope and Facebook Live, they're not doing the interaction thing, and that's what these platforms
Yes,
are
are made
for.
for.
So it
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So what's happening is some of these outlets are just repurposing the the content that they use for linear television or whatever and putting it via live stream on Facebook Live or Periscope or whatever. That's not what it's supposed to be for. It's about interaction.
That's interesting that they're not taking advantage of it, especially when that platform is gearing itself to millennials. That's a big miss.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there are certain shows, again, I haven't watched every single program that they do. There may be certain shows where they do that, but well, and here's the thing. Also, where they're streaming, I don't know where else they're doing things with.
Right.
Millennials really like certain streaming platforms. They're not, you're not going to really find them so much on the Facebook Lives because Facebook skews older. They're not so much. Some of them are on Periscope, but not to a huge extent.
That's
Where you
true.
find them is on Instagram and Instagram stories. And now there's the live streaming aspect of Instagram stories. So what they could do is start to use Instagram and live stream. The only thing is the way to save those live streams, it's not there yet.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So
Like
it
if
just
you're,
disappears.
that's the thing. If you're not a, if you're a content creator, Instagram Live isn't really the best thing for you.
No, because you wasted your time. You created all of this and then it goes. So I think I've done one Instagram live because I'm like, well, I do all this work and then it disappears. I
No.
need for it to be archived someplace.
The difference between a producer and a content creator was just explained by Tachi right there.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the big difference there. But well, what we're going to do, we're going to wind it down. We had as always a very entertaining conversation with Miss Tachi,
Yes.
who hopefully before we call it a day in our lives will start her hat line. She needs to start her hat line.
You know what? I will. I've already kind of started taking steps, so it's
Good.
going to happen, Dr. Vibe.
Well, no, I just would like to happen, and again, uh, put it out there. If anything we can do to get you at least digitally in contact with the people of the Toronto Film Festival, we need to have your presence there,
Yeah, absolutely.
because I know that you always have a lot of things going on, and I don't want you to miss that opportunity.
No, absolutely. Toronto is on my radar.
All right. Anything else you want to close out with? Anything coming up on any of your shows that we need to know about?
Just the normal news that's
Okay.
coming up, media tech and pop culture. I encourage everybody to watch because I try to keep everybody up to date on what's going on with that.
And she's dual screening on Periscope, so that is good stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. The past two shows we had guest co-hosts. This time I'm not doing that. I probably won't do that again for a while, but one thing I decided I wanted to do is to periodically bring in guest co-hosts so that it brings a different dynamic to the
Sure.
show. You have stuff that you can bounce off of people, etc. So yeah, periodically you will see a guest co-host on MediaScope, and it might be Dr. Vibe.
Hey, I as much as possible, and if I'm unless I'm out of the office, I'm watching it, because it's a staple, and I make sure to watch it on replay too, because it is one of the best things that I see online, and it has been for a
Thank you.
number of years. I think is fantastic, great interaction. Always, you've got a very good core audience there that, from the Mr. Osby, is it? Greg?
Yes, Sean Osby.
Sean Osby, and of course we cannot forget Mr. Claude Diamond. They
Mark
are
Diamond.
There's so
yourself.
there's so many regulars. It's like family there. So definitely.
It
So
is.
it's a great time. It's we do definitely watch it for Tachi, but we also watch it for the family that hangs out there on Wednesdays. So make sure you check it out.
Yes, absolutely. Please, we'd love to have you.
And that's Wednesday evenings at what time again?
6 p.m. Eastern Time on Periscope and Facebook Live. I also do 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Busker.
Oscar.
So right before is Busker, then Periscope, Facebook Live.
All right. Well, she gave you all the information. Just make it happen and be there. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. Also, I'm a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. As always, I'd like to say, hey, if you would like a complimentary 30-minute session, certainly get in touch with me at either Twitter at drvibeshow, website address www.thedrvibeshow, or you can email me. Yes, email dr.vibe at thedrvibeshow.com. If you want to check out any of my replays of any of my epic conversations, you can go to YouTube, where a lot of people are subscribing. Thank you so much. There's the website. You can listen and watch stuff. There's iHeartRadio, Tuned In Radio, Stitcher Radio. I'm going to say it right this time. Apple Podcasts. I said it this time. Apple Podcasts. And the Good Men Project and WJMS Radio. Other things to come. Other opportunities coming up there. But focus on Tachi. She has a lot of good things always. And man, some networks got to pick you up because you're at all these different events and you're reporting. Some networks, man, CNN's got to get their game on, or MSNBC got to get their game on and hire you.
Thank you from your mouth to God's ears. So.
I receive that. So as always, I like to say you're blessed and highly favored. You're a magnet for miracles and your solution for someone's problem. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. Coming up later on this week, audio wise, I've got a live audio conversation. Well, actually, I have something tomorrow. Ladies is a article she wrote about a message for Black people. Then later on this week, we have Dr. Vibe's Allies, which is once a month. We do a live audio roundtable with Black men from Canada, the United States, and England. That's 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night. So if you want to know all about that, either follow me on Twitter or email me, but just follow me on Twitter. You'll get updated on it. So God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Thanks for watching live or on the replay. And remember, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Good night.
Night.